the provision of the Caretaker Government and a review on general elections in Bangladesh by Ohidur. The previous parliamentary elections were different. There was a serious contention over the Caretaker Government that was dropped by the Supreme Court. However, the High Court says this provision may stay for the following two general elections. As such, the BNP decided to remain abstain from participation. This time it seems that the idea of the Caretaker Government provision was stoppered down in the fathomless ocean. That is why the BNP did not want to make the similar mistake once again. Still, the result is not much different, as the opposition leader Begum Khaleda Zia cannot combat the battle as convicted for over 2 years' imprisonment. Caretaker government worked well, except that the Chief Advisor Fakhruddin Ahmed prolonged the election by 3 more months. Recently, Pakistan and Greece have also adopted this provision to overcome political stalemate. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was released on the 10th of January 1972. Then he briefly assumed the provisional presidency. Subsequently, he took office as the Prime Minister with the supreme power over all organs of government and the power of decisions. In 1973 a constitution was proclaimed. As a result, elections were held. Mujib and his party obtained power with an absolute majority. In 1974 the deadliest famine killed 27,000 officially but unofficially 1.5 million Bangladeshis, mainly from hunger, though it was not due to a food crisis most regrettably. Rapidly Mujib governance lost its popularity. Gradually political unrest rose and violence ensued alarmingly. On the 28th of December 1974 Mujib declared a state of emergency. On the 25th of January 1975 a constitutional amendment adopted by his political supporters banned all opposition political parties. Once again Mujib assumed the presidency with extraordinary powers. As a result, the only political party emerged by the name Bangladesh Krishak Shramik Awami League, Baksal, on the 24th of February 1975. However, it was dissolved after the assassination. On the 15th of August 1975 Sheikh Mujib along with many family members was assassinated. It plunged Bangladesh into years of political turmoil. And after the coup, the army chief Ziaur Rahman took control. Then in 1977 he declared himself the president. Afterwards, Mujib's killers were saved from prosecution by the Indemnity Ordinance. Subsequently, Zia founded Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP. In May 1981, Zia was assassinated in Chittagong. Constitutionally, Vice President Justice Abdus Sattar was sworn in as acting president. He declared a new national emergency and called for a presidential election within 6 months. He himself won as the BNP candidate. Eventually, the army ousted him and Army Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Hussain Mohammad Ershad assumed power on the 24th of March 1982 as anticipated by Ershad's distaste on Sattar's 75th birthday. However, he rationalized the grave political, economic, and societal crisis. Ershad halted the constitution. He declared martial law over pervasive corruption, ineffectual government, and economic mismanagement assumptions. He discouraged public ownership of 70% industry and invited private investment in light and heavy industries including manufacturing, raw materials, and newspapers. Foreign companies entered and all political parties and trade unions were banned for a short period. Contrarily, the populace viewed Ershad's takeover positively as Bangladesh was in a state of serious economic difficulty. In March 1985 Ershad verified public support by yes or no election nationally. Overwhelmingly he won, though a thorough mistrust prevailed. In the same year Ershad introduced the Upazila and Zila Parishad system to strengthen rural administration. He also held the first democratic elections for these village councils. Later in May 1986 the parliamentary elections were held, though boycotted by President Zia's widow, Begum Khaleda Zia. The Jatiya Party won a modest majority over the total 300 seats. Ershad resigned as Army Chief of Staff and retired from military service in preparation for the presidential elections in October. After declaring a state of emergency, Ershad dissolved parliament and scheduled fresh elections in March 1988. All major opposition parties refused to participate in fear of unfair elections. However, the ruling Jatiya Party won 251 of the 300 seats. Opposition to Ershad's rule escalated by the end of 1990. Frequent general strikes, campus protests, public rallies, and a general disintegration of law and order increased. Subsequently, Ershad resigned on 6 December 1990. After 2 months of widespread civil unrest, an interim government headed by acting President Chief Justice Fakhruddin Ahmed was formed on 27 February 1991. Most observers believed it was the nation's most free and fair election. Khaleda Zia became the Prime Minister. Later in October, members of Parliament elected a new head of state. President Abdurrahman was. In March 1994, a parliamentary by-election took place. The opposition claimed the government had rigged in the election. As a result, the entire opposition boycotted Parliament for an indefinite period. Repeated general strikes led Khaleda Zia's government to resign, and the provision of a caretaker government entered into parliamentary elections. The opposition boycotted the national elections scheduled on 15 February 1996. However, in February Khaleda Zia was re-elected, though the elections were boycotted and denounced as unfair by the 3 main opposition parties. Political turmoil escalated, and in March 1996, a neutral caretaker government assumed power and conducted new parliamentary elections. Former Chief Justice Muhammad Habibur Rahman was named Chief Advisor, a position equivalent to Prime Minister, in the interim government. New parliamentary elections were held in June 1996. The Awami League won plurality and formed the government with support from the Jatiya Party led by deposed President Hussain Mohammad Ershad. Party leader Sheikh Hasina became Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Jatiya Party President Ershad was released from prison on bail in January 1997. International and domestic election observers found the June 1996 election free and fair. Ultimately, the BNP joined the new parliament. In June 1999, the BNP and other opposition parties stopped attending parliament, followed by general strikes, and boycotted parliamentary by-elections and local government elections including municipal council elections in February 1999, several parliamentary by-elections, and the Chittagong City Corporation elections in January 2000. In July 2001, the AL government stepped down to allow a caretaker government to preside over parliamentary elections. The caretaker government held elections on 1 October 2001. Khaleda Zia was sworn in as Prime Minister for the 3rd time on 10 October 2001. In February 2006, the AL returned to Parliament, demanded early elections and requested significant changes in the electoral and caretaker government systems to stop alleged moves by the ruling coalition to rig the next election. Khaleda's tenure ended in late October 2006. A group including Army Chief, General Moinu Ahmed, persuaded President Fakhruddin Ahmed to declare a state of emergency and to resign from the post of Chief Advisor. He appointed Fakhruddin Ahmed as the new Chief Advisor. Then the political activity was prohibited. The Awami League won national election on 29 December 2008 and formed a coalition government with Hussain Mohammad Ershad and some leftist parties. Since 2009, the AL government faced several major political challenges such as BDR mutiny, power crisis, unrest in garments industry and stock market fluctuations. On the other hand, judicial achievements included restoring 1972 constitution, beginning of war crime trials, and guilty verdict in 1975 assassination trial. According to the Nielsen 2-year survey, 50% felt the country was moving in the right direction, and 36% gave the government a favorable rating. On the 18th of September 2012, Bangladesh Supreme Court declared the abolition of the caretaker government system. And the 10th general elections were held on the 5th of January 2014. Almost all major opposition parties boycotted, and 154 of the total 300 seats were uncontested. Whatever the history says, the foremost objective of the ruling body is to ensure the environment which can hold a free and fair election for the sake of a true and healthy democracy, so that the peace for the people prevails, the human rights sustain, and the nation can go ahead with tranquility and prosperity. The writer is Assistant Professor of English and Director of Language Center at University of Information Technology and Sciences, UITS. Published in Morning Tea of the Daily Sun on the 22nd of December 2018. Thanks for watching.